in. Oh, actually, what I've got to do is I've got to do that. Hello, Doris. How are you today? Now I'll get that plug in. Oh, coming around now. Oh.
We've just had some advice from the Chief Health Officer.
I don't hold a hose,
We've just
mate.
had some advice from the Chief Health Officer.
I don't hold a hose, mate.
We've just had some advice from the Chief Health Officer.
I don't hold a hose, mate.
We've just had some advice from the Chief Health
I
Officer.
don't hold a hose, mate.
We've just had some advice from the Chief
I don't
Health
hold a
Officer.
hose, mate.
I don't hold a hose,
We've just had
mate.
some advice
Oh.
from the Chief Health Officer. We've just
Hey.
had some advice from the Chief Health Officer. We've just had some advice from the Chief Health Officer. We've just had some advice
Hey.
I don't hold a hose.
Hey.
from the Chief Health Officer.
Oh.
Some advice from the Chief Health
Oh.
Officer.
Oh. Hey. How's everyone tonight?
Chief Health Officer.
Ah.
Some advice from the Chief Health Officer. We've just had some advice from the Chief Health Officer. We've just had some advice from the Chief Health Officer. We've just had some
Hey.
advice from the Chief Health Officer.
How's everyone tonight? My name's Chris Quinlan. Welcome to Melbourne Musos YouTube Live. Hey, what a week. Oh, I decided to put my dressing gown on today. You know how it is. Lockdown, half the country's in lockdown. What do you do? Gotta play your drums, mate. Shut up and play your drums. Hey, oh. We've just had some advice.
Chief Health Officer.
We've just had some
We've
advice
just had some advice from the Chief Health Officer.
from a Chief Health Officer.
We've just had some advice from the Chief Health Officer. We've just had some advice from the Chief Health Officer.
Professor Nutbutter and his house of treats. We've just had a bit of a... I'm talking in riddles. Professor Nutbutter, Tales from the Punch Bowl. Primus, Herb Alexander. Oh, what a drummer. One of my favorites. Oh. Hey, I'll put it up there. Tales from the Punch Bowl. Straight into it. Now, what am I going to talk about tonight? Oh, talking about House of Treats. I've got a few things for you. What do you do when you come out of lockdown? Are you going to do another door take for another? No, mate. So, what are we going to do? The system is changing. Okay, sort of thing. So, one of the things that I would like to talk about tonight is the actual, a couple of things that you might need to do when you are searching for paid musical work. Okay, there you go. Now, one of the things that I am just an eternal explorer of music in any way, shape, or form. I like it all. I like it a lot. I like it a lot. Anyway, so what goes on? We're all going a bit troppo. Anyway, but what goes on is that one of the things I did in the 1980s was actually do quite a while of doing orchestration studies, meaning writing for orchestra. I was just fascinated. How do they do it? It all started with my year 12, okay, music history and lit. I would have to study Stravinsky and Beethoven and Mozart. Oh, that Schubert Trout Quintet. I hated that thing. Oh, God help me. I had to study that bloody thing. But Bartok, oh, music for strings, percussion, and celeste. How did they do it? So what goes on is what I'd like to do tonight is talk about how to orchestrate things on the drum set, which I've done in the past, but one thing that I haven't really done too much, which is really quite a practical thing, is you literally have to learn how to write in space, you know, like rests for people, so they can literally change the things they hit drums with, okay? Now, one of the most common things, I suppose, is to be able to, you know, like if you're playing in a jazz quartet or anything like that, you might be playing your brushes. Oh, don't you love that jazz bass drum sound? Not. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 to 1. That kind of thing there, where you might have to change from brushes to sticks and things like that. And you just sort of practice it, you know, sort of thing. Take your time, you know, but try and keep something else going so you don't lose continuity. A 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Something like that. So what you've got to try and do is learn to move things around, get your arrangements together so that you can actually do that kind of thing where you're going to change. Because what happens is sometimes when you're dealing with brushes and things like that, when you're dealing with things like mallets, these kinds of things, which I'll be playing later on, I have another little story for you. They seem to be fairly popular. I love doing them. I hope you do too. Butchering kids' stories. But one of the things that happens often is that you might be playing something, you might be doing a theatre production, right? And before our COVID lockdown, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and all that, and ongoing, have a look up north, oh my Lord, what's going on there? And what happens is that you have a set of mallets and you have a set of sticks, but the score calls for the fact that you've only got 2 beats or 3 beats to change from one to the other. You've got to put the mallet down and pick the sticks up, or vice versa. So one of the things that happens is that they come up with drumstick companies. There's a ProMark SD7. I'll put it there. There you go. Hello, camera 1. I've been looking at camera 2. There's 3 and 4's down here. I've got boot cam because I'm going to show you something later on if you can see it. Anyway, might not be able to see it because I've got my dressing gown still on. I've been teaching all week. Half the kids are still in their dressing gowns. God bless their little poppet hearts. It's lots of fun. And the parents, the things you do for your kids, beautiful. Anyway, so what goes on is that you have, and that was just talking about camera 4. And you've got a ProMark ST7. Vic Firth called them swizzle sticks. Does people know what a swizzle is? I had to explain it to a student. They don't know what it is. Coming up in the pub sort of thing, you had a box of swizzles, and they're the long plastic spoon that you would stir your G&T up with, you know, all that sort of biz, a little swizzle. Oh, give it a little swizzle. And what happens is that sometimes what will happen, especially in school bands and things like this as well, this is when it first starts to happen, is that you might be doing a cymbal roll. You're not doing a rock beat or anything like that. You might be doing the theme to The Lion King or something like that too. Dawn. You know, there's your conductor counting it in. You've got your mallets. Swizzle. See, you just get that. You see, that's what goes on. For me, because I use both grips. There's matched, and then there's traditional. You see. So what I do is I just sort of flick around. Now, one of the things I'll get a little bit technical with you all. When you have a stick, you have the tip, you have the shoulder. These days they're calling it the taper. You have the main shaft. There is the fulcrum, the bit where you get the most bounce from a stick. And then you have the heel of the stick, same as your shoe. But in this particular case, you have a mallet. And this is a little bit of a harder mallet than these soft, furry ones. Have a look. They're not that old either. I've been using them a lot, so they're starting to get a little bit fluffy. Fluff. Anyway, there you go. And what goes on is that because there's a mallet on the end, technical talk here, when you do swizzle, the fulcrum's in a bit of a strange place, you see. So you might have... You've got to learn to spin, not for just straight up stick tricks or anything like that. Professionally spin, where it's written in the score, change to mallets, change to this, change to brushes, change back. You write it in. You learn to write it in. Okay, so that's one of these things. Now, when you're doing things like that, so often, I did so much of it with the dear city of Essendon Brass Band back in the day, national championships. We didn't just march down the street, like... That's anyway, so what happens is that you don't always do that. You have to do different things. Remembrance Day, I've often said, oh man, the press rolls. You've got to get things like that. And then you have to, do performances. I remember Dvorak's New World Symphony, National Band Championships, 1990. It was like 64 bars of rest, mate. You're there going, the first time, and slow. So you're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 47, 2, 3. Was it 47, 40? Oh, shit, I've lost count. But I learnt. Terry, my mate Terry, if you're watching, on UFO, I think, he would come in about 8 bars before mine. So I just sit back, read the paper, mate. That's why you have drum stools with the back on it. It's not because I've got a bad back. You're just waiting all the time, Oh, yeah, here we go. Count the rest, mate. And then when Tezza came in, and then away you go, that kind of thing. So you got to make sure that when you're playing, you have you find yourself, if you're in a band and you're working with people who are fantastic, but they don't really have the concept of give me time to change, mate. It's a little bit like think about it like this: when you're hearing, I've got one, James Hetfield with Metallica when they do The Unforgiven. When I saw them at the Tennis Centre way back when, 93 or whatever, it was an incredible concert. But the opening acoustic part, they had the guitar up on a stand. Steve Howe had that with Yes back in the 70s. But he had his electric guitar slung ready to go crack when it came in, you see. There's times when you've got to change your guitar. So, there's things like that. You might go to a... like a Jimmy Page kind of thing, where you go about to do Kashmir or something, and it's in Dadgad tuning. Hey, this is a drum show, mate. Hey, drum show, mate. Hey.
I don't hold a hose, mate.
Yeah. Neither do you do a drum show, mate. There you go. Cooked, mate, cooked. And so what goes on... match grip, traditional, and all that. You work it out whatever way you do. So what happens is when you're dealing with a jazz band, you've got to change from brushes to sticks. You've got to put your sticks down and then pick your brushes up, or vice versa. One of the things that you might notice with Buddy Rich is the fact that he would have a 5-piece drum kit, his classic 5-piece. But towards the end, his second floor tom, he had one rack tom, he had the second floor. It was just his table. That's all it was. So he was really just playing a 4-piece kit. And he would put everything there. So if ever it comes up with brushes, there they were. You learn to be quick, mate, quick. And then what happens is when you're doing orchestral stuff and theatre productions, I did a lot of work with, Ray Smith, if you're there, mate, how are you? I haven't seen you for a long time. But what goes on is that we used to do a lot of productions for schools like MacKillop College, Mount St. Joseph's, all that sort of biz. And it was paid work. Not that paid well, but, that towards the end we did, because I sort of went, got to do the right rate and all that. But what goes on is that it was written in, you see. What happens is you get your score. You'd be like, there's the drums, there's the bass, there's the guitar, there's the saxophone 1, saxophone 2, trumpet, blah, 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 piano, keyboard, synthesizer or whatever it is. And I believe it was up in Sydney. There's a company, and it's a little bit like, video sleazy, except for music productions. They've got basically a warehouse full of boxes of scores, like The Wiz and Kismet and Seven Brides for Seven Brothers and Chicago and everything else. And it's just a box with all the charts, and it's literally a book. And you pick up the book and you open the thing. So what you've got to learn to do, this segues into my next bit, is you've got to learn to sometimes play one-handed. Now, on a great brave thing, I'm going to give kudos to Rick Allen of Def Leppard, who's a great drummer, and then sadly he had a bad motorcycle accident in 1984, and he lost an arm. And but the band didn't just see you later, mate. Yeah, sorry. Oh, where am I? Yeah, no.
I don't hold a hose, mate.
Yeah, they didn't nick off or anything like that. What it was we'll hang around for you. And he always said, I'm a better drummer with one arm or one arm than I was with two. I've got an old Modern Drummer magazine back in the day about, I don't know, 81 or 82 there. And there he is with both hands. And then all of a sudden, that's what you do. Now, what goes on with that is that when you are doing the aforementioned theatre jobs and all this sort of stuff, what you need to do is learn how to keep a beat going or something happening while you're turning the page. These days, it may well be the iPad, so you've just got to get your finger and go flick and all that. There's attachments you can buy for string players and stuff. You know, they're busy doing Shostakovich, going diddle 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 diddle, and they just press a foot switch and the page changes for them, you know, on iPad and stuff like that. You've got to watch yourself, though. Don't get nervous. Oh, a page, oh, my God, and all that. But what goes on is that you see what I do here with this little show is that I have a sampler here. I have my accoutrements. I've got the computer. That's somebody else's sequencer. That's somebody else's backing tracks and all that sort of stuff. You might have a four-piece band and, you know, guitar, bass, singer, drums. And all of a sudden, where's the keyboards coming from, mate? You know, that kind of stuff, you know. The drummer's pressed the button, mate. That's what's going on. So what you've got to do... Hey! That's what goes on, you see. So some of the things that you need to get to know about is freeing up of hands so that you can do these things. So I can just press this.
We've just had some advice from the Chief Health Officer.
You know, things like that. And you get, you know, and I've just got a left hand free, you know. And that's what goes on. And that's what must be done. Oh, I think it's that one.
And that's what must be done.
That's right. Thanks, Dan.
Mate.
Hey, hey. See, you just got to work fast. Hey. And then what goes on is the Bonham thing. I'm going to talk about Mr. John Henry Bonham. Hey. That's why I have the tambourine there. Now, let me tell you a tale. What goes on is that Led Zeppelin got very big very quickly, and they started playing and selling out all over the place. For those who don't know, the two biggest bands after the Beatles split up in 1970 was Led Zeppelin and the Rolling Stones. And every time they went on their big tour, they would break each other's records. It was a very funny thing, because what would happen is in the day, after 73, that was where Song Remains the Same was filmed, all that. But what happened was Led Zepp toured 73, 75, 77, 79. Whereas the Stones did the opposite. It was like 74, 76, 78 kind of deal, you know, when you get it. And they kept breaking each other's records. They kept playing to, you know, 65, 70,000 people. It wasn't a festival, it was just that one band, you know, that kind of thing. Now, most of you know that John Henry Bonham had a 24-inch ride cymbal and a huge, huge bass drum. And what would happen is that when he was playing, that kind of thing, the wash of the cymbal, that's a beautiful 22-inch Benny Greb crash ride. There's the wash, there's the ping, and it sort of goes, hey, see you later, mate, and all that. So think about that with that's a 22, but Bonzo had a 24 Formula 2002. And what happens is that the hi-hat became king. Okay, you hear it with the very first album, Led Zeppelin 1 with Good Times, Bad Times. Added a hi-hat tambourine, so all of a sudden, Jimmy could say, oh, there's one. You know, that kind of... So what you do, now you're freeing up your right hand to do other things. All right, so that's what goes on. You see, you're now freeing up your right hand to do different things. Let me show you a couple of things with the old boot cam and all that, or I should say at the moment, slipper cam. Oh, shit. And what goes on is that if you're pumping, have a look at that, you can pump that, you know, get all that going. And then what starts to happen, that frees up when you're using multi-sticks like this one here, mallet one end, tip the other, you take away the attack. I just did that a few weeks ago. See? Softer attack. So when you're looking at, say, guitar pedals, there's the attack thing. You can, you know, like I've got a friend's Pog over there, you know, Electro-Harmonix Pog, you know, a little synthesizer thing. And you can do the attack so it swooshes in. It's a little bit like Jeff Beck working his volume to give the old violin sound, you know, that kind of thing. You can actually work it up. But you need something. If the band, you know, a lot of people say in jazz, leave the hi-hat for the band, you know, that kind of thing. Terrific. Okay, so that's what you do. And there, I've got a stick mallet. You could do it the other way. You could have mallet stick and all that stuff. There you go. Now, talking about that, when you've got that going, what can start to happen is that if I go down to the lick of the century, if you couldn't do this, you were nothing in the 70s. The old John Bonham. And one of my little, why didn't he put the hi-hat in, is a YouTube clip out there where a young fella's actually playing Bonzo's Green Kit. He doesn't put the hi-hat in, mate. Come on, it's pumping away the whole time. And, you know.
I don't hold a hose, mate.
So what goes on is that you work. And what you're really doing there is, if I'm going to explain it, it's a single stroke roll with your feet, but starting with the left. It's a bit of a John Bonham secret weapon. So on it goes. Now, let me just show you something here. What happens is, if I take my hi-hat foot, the left foot, and move it to my left kick. That's my left foot doing the kick. what usually happens is this. This is normal. You've got the big triplet, Ian Pace, that's more of an Ian. You have your inversions. You could start with the bass drum. You could do this and that and the other, but generally that's what it is. And then what you do is you put your left slipper, let's take it easy, it's Friday. And there you go. But what happens is you can do that. Now, think about it. A bit of lateral thinking here. You've taken your foot off the cymbal to put it on a drum. One of the big things here is the floor tom. So why not, with your right hand, take your right hand and instead of being it on a drum, put it on a cymbal. Right foot stays in the same place. Oh! Oh, hot for teacher, mate. And then I might just take the samples out for a second. I love them, but some people don't. And what happens is that when you're doing that, if you put your left hand in the same spot, have a look at that, mate. You got triplets. Go. Now, go have a listen to the original Oh Black Betty Bam a Lamb by Ram Jam, the one-hit wonders that had it. I know Spiderbait has probably got the more famous version for us here in Aussie land. But what goes, Straya, mate, Straya, you know, sort of thing. But what goes on is that you'll hear that as a little drum break. It'll be bit messy, but I think you get the idea. I'll slow it down. And in a kind of a way, that's still hot for teacher, which I did a little while ago. And yeah, I did all that, I don't know, about a year ago or so. And that's what happened there. That's one of those crazy licks. Now, what I've done there is I've literally moved my left slipper to the bass drum. Okay, so you can do that with other things. You see, there you go. And so on it goes. You see, that's what goes on. The other thing that you can do is, if you're going to do this, you get that going. You can mix it up. You can get the splash hat, heel toe kind of. And that's what goes on there, you see. So you got that kind of thing. Now, one of the things that you also can do is straddle, okay? You can actually take two pedals and set them up the right way and then play both at the same time. That's just my left foot. Bark, bark. And Tales from the Punch Bowl. Professor Nutbutter's House of Treats. Tales from Punch Bowl. Primus, 1995.
We've just had some advice from the chief health officer. We've just had some advice from the chief health officer. We've just had some advice from the chief health officer. We've just had some advice from the chief health officer. We've just had some advice.
chickadoo. Oh, I love all that stuff. I love that album. It's not their most popular, but oh God, what a vibe to it. It's just fun. Professor Nutbutter. There it is there. That's the one with We're Known as Big Brown Beaver on it. Hey. Missed. Okay. So there you go. Now, I'm already at the time, but I have more stuff for you. And what we've got here now is yet another tale. All right. So what we're going to do here, this is a sordid little story. I need to thank Ali Lee, who's throwing out Winnie the Pooh and her kids' books. And I thought I have evil plans. And the stories seem to be a bit humorous. I mean, the thing is, I know this is a drum show, but, you know, there's 40 million thousand drum clips about paradiddles and stuff like that. It's got to find an angle. That's what it is. And this angle is, another bear in trouble. We're all in trouble. We've got to do the right thing. You've got to wear your masks, mate. Come on. I went into the botlo yesterday. Shall I whinge? No, I won't. I won't whinge. And, but just wear a goddamn mask and don't stand there wondering if you've got enough money to buy your smokes and your six-pack. Say, oh, geez, I don't know if I've got enough. Okay. And you stand in the doorway, no mask, no nothing. Come on, everyone. I love you all, but come on, do the right thing. Hang on, I've got to do this. Excuse me 1 second. I'll probably edit this out, but I have to get this just right. Oh, it went off. Oh, there it is. There, I've got it now. Yeah. So this is another sordid tale, and what we have here is the story. I won't even say the title. I don't want to give it away. We're off. Hey, come on now. Are you working? Come on. Come on, lad. Tough Scotty loses his growl. The alarm clock started to ring and Gladys jumped out of bed, bursting with energy. Tough Scotty opened one sleepy eye, which is all he could do, as the other one had fallen off years ago when he was stopping the boats, and he stretched. Another morning, he yawned. I don't suppose it will be a good one. Tough Scotty was a very old bear. Tough Scotty used to work in a Chinese restaurant owned by the famous cook, Mark E. Ting, who used to chase him around saying, Tough Scotty, where the bloody hell are you? It's cooked, mate, cooked! Anyways, Mark E. Ting was a famous cook who used to knock around with the little teddy bear Tony, who came from Canada. And then he went on to work with Malcolm, the about-face bear. Anyways, he had been a smart teddy then and happy, but now he was in a sorry state and was always grumpy. He was the oldest of the toys and he'd been through some tough times. The other toys sort of thought he was okay, but they were fed up with his constant moaning and groaning and all his holidays. When is this bed going to be made? I can't get comfortable with all these covers thrown back, he complained. And they should pull that blind down. The sun's shining straight through into my eye from my Hawaii hotel room. Talking of which, it's about time they gave me a new holiday, he moaned. He carried on growling all morning. If he doesn't stop complaining soon, I'm going to stuff my hat in his mouth, whispered Soldier to Clown as they sat on the shelf. Not if I put my juggling balls in there first, said Clown. Juggling balls. All the toys giggled. The juggling balls. That's right. It's about time we taught him a lesson, said Gladys. What can we do to stop him moaning and groaning? What about putting a sticker on his liquor while he's asleep, tittered Owl, who was always wise. That's a brilliant idea, Owl, said Gladys, and everyone agreed. So that night, Gladys fetched a sticker from the bathroom cabinet and stuck it firmly over Tough Scotty's liquor while he was asleep. All the toys were delighted. Peace and quiet at last. The next morning, the alarm went off and Gladys went into the bathroom. Tough Scotty opened his eye and was just about to moan that the alarm was still ringing when he realized he could not open his mouth. He pulled and stretched and twisted his face as hard as he could, but he could not get his mouth open. Then he noticed that all the toys were watching him. When he looked and saw the sticker on his liquor in the mirror, he was furious. He ripped it off and turned to face the other toys angry. Who did this, he bellowed. When I find out who it was, there will be trouble. Grah. Have you no respect for an old bear? He went on and on and on and on and on and on and on. He grew red in the face and looked terribly cross. All the toys became quite scared. Then, as he was growling at the top of his voice, a funny thing happened. His voice began to crack. He tried to clear his throat. I don't hold a hose, mate. But it was no use. He had lost his voice completely. Well, it serves you right, said Gladys. All you do is moan, 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 and we're tired of listening to you. We put the sticker on your liquor to teach you a lesson. But now you've moaned so much that you've made yourself lose your voice completely. With that, a big tear rolled down Tough Scotty's cheek. He was not so tough after all. He had not realized that he moaned so much, and he felt very sorry. Gladys did not like seeing Tough Scotty so sad. All the toys felt a bit guilty for what they had done. I'll go and get you some honey from the kitchen, said Gladys. It will soothe your throat, but you must promise not to start moaning again. After Gladys had given Tough Scotty a spoonful of honey to make the medicine go down, he whispered, I'm sorry. I promise I'll try not to moan anymore. I didn't realize I'd become such a grumpy old bear. With that, all the toys gave Tough Scotty a hug and Gladys gave him some more honey. Since then, Tough Scotty has tried really hard not to moan, but he doesn't hold a hose, he doesn't hold a rake, he doesn't even hold a drumstick. Since then, Tough Scotty has tried really hard not to moan and bitch and to hold a hose, and he doesn't hold a drumstick, and he doesn't hold a rake, and he doesn't hold a shovel, and he goes missing a lot in holidays. But apart from that, oh dear, whenever he does hold a shovel or hold a rake, he thinks about the sticker on his liquor and quickly stops himself before anyone hears. And all of the little bin chickens in the Golden State Playroom do their best to keep him happy, as long as he keeps a sticker on his liquor. The end. Doing them. All right, I better get moving. Hope you enjoyed the show. Oh. All right, so what I'm going to do is go off and get some editing and put the show together, I suppose, at some point over the weekend. I know there's some kind of opening ceremony here, but I would much rather all that money be spent on a national treasure like John Cornell and his and a state funeral for that guy. Funniest guy. Hobbs is offsider. Strop. This show is dedicated to that great, funny, dear man. Hey! Heart goes out to Delvine Delaney. Oh, nearly destroyed my childhood, that lady. And I shall have this up over the weekend.
From the Chief Health Officer. We've just had some advice from the Chief Health Officer. We've just had some advice from the Chief Health Officer.
Hey, thank you for watching, everybody. My name's Chris Quinlan, Melbourne Musos, YouTube Live. Oh, I hope you enjoyed what I did tonight. Hope you get something out of it. It's going to be on our beloved Channel 31 on Wednesday at 10 o'clock. And listen to the health officer.
Some advice from the Chief Health Officer.
Oh, my God, look at them all going. It's the National Cabinet, mate, the National Cabinet.
We've just had some advice from
See
the
you
Chief
all
Health Officer.
in the soup.
We've just had some advice from the Chief Health Officer.
I don't hold a hose, mate.
We've just had some advice from the Chief Health Officer.
Mate.
We've just had some advice from the Chief
I don't
Health
hold a hose,
Officer.
mate.
We've just had some advice from
I
the
don't
Chief
hold a
Health
hose,
Officer.
mate.
We've just had some advice from the Chief Health Officer. We've just had some advice from the Chief Health Officer. We've just had some advice from the